One small step for man. One.
I remember that moment like it was almost yesterday. We had a black and white thick TV in the middle of the living room in campus housing in Corvallis, Oregon. I was watching with my parents there. Neil Armstrong. One small step indeed, but a huge step. It's been more than 4 decades since man landed on the moon, but America is stepping down on the return to the moon plan. President Obama is proposing as part of his fiscal tightening, deficit controlling budget to basically nix plans to put a man back on the moon over the next many, many years. It was going to cost a lot of money. Instead, he's going to focus on new rocket technology research.
That's sad. The moment we stop our ability to dream, that's the moment we don't do anything more. You know, you don't dream, you cannot achieve your goals.
Well, I think that we need to explore out in the area, but given the current crunch on money, I'm wondering if we should be spending money on it at this point.
Well, I don't like to see any of the space program budgets cut, because I think that it's just, there's so much that we can learn from space, and I'd rather see the defense budget cut.
Joining me as a return guest to this program, who obviously was a bit chagrined by the Obama proposal, Dr. Hal Ravachey, president of the Stevens Institute of Technology in New York City, joins us on the program. Hal, it's good to see you. You've been keeping very well in the time since we spoke. I can't tell you how disappointed I am as somebody who actually considered studying astrophysics before university, that they want to pull back on engagement. Or is it really a pullback? They're not completely pulling back from space. Obama's just saying that putting the man back on the moon thing may not be the highest and best use of money.
Well, I think we have not done a good job in explaining the overall benefits to the public from space, in terms of humanitarian relief, in terms of civil, and in terms of commercial opportunities, which would create new businesses through innovation. So I'm for a very robust space program, and I'm also for sharing space assets, because if we look at what's up in space, it's not just NASA, it's the Department of Defense, it's the intelligence agencies, and they each have their own technology-based systems up there. So if we share assets, and then if we share assets on the ground with other countries in areas where the information is not sensitive, I think we could do a lot. You know, a big part of the cost in space are the command and control centers on ground and the staff and upgrading them. Now, between China, Russia, the U.S., and maybe Japan, Korea, and other countries, if we shared some of those costs on Earth, then we could afford to explore more in the United States.
Hal, you and I'm sure, did many of the same things as young boys. You know, lying on an open field on a clear summer night, looking up, wondering, is the moon smiling at us, looking at the stars beyond that took millions of years for the light to actually reach our eyes, wondering, Earth seems like just a small speck of sand on an endless beach, and we're just small specimens, just flecks, if you will, specks, yes, in the whole grand design of things. Is there life out there? Is there water out there? Was there life on Mars? Was there life on these big planets? But what have we gotten out of it, out of 4 decades, other than spending money? Has there been a real return on investment? Unfortunately, we have to live by a budget as mortal human beings.
I understand that, but we have learned a lot about new materials that we have applied to do space travel, new electronics, semiconductor devices, new types of computing, learning about health, extended space travel of our astronauts under low gravity conditions. So it goes back to the point I tried to make earlier. We really haven't explained the multi-uses of space, both for defense, intelligence, and space exploration. And humanitarian, just look, what was the first thing that was needed in Haiti in this recent disaster, right? Communications technology. What did they need second? Information from satellites on situational awareness on what roads were available. So the more we cut back on space travel, space exploration, and space-based technologies, we will lose that edge. It's a mistake.
Have we, you mentioned that really what goes on the ground is paramount to what actually happens up in space. What do you mean exactly by that? Are we ignoring stuff that's right in our own backyard?
Well, the command and control centers that we have Yeah, the command and control centers, for example, that NASA has around the United States, they're very expensive. The physical facilities themselves, the equipment, the staffing. So if we could share those costs with other countries, Russia, China, the newcomers, Korea, Japan, and others, that would help reduce the federal budget expenditures for those land-based systems. Now, what we put up in space, some of that's proprietary. Whether it's for our own space exploration, defense, or intelligence, we need to safeguard that. But we can share the costs on the ground.
Hal, does any kind of a reeling back in this kind of in these difficult times economically, does it in any way present a national security threat to America? You know, we watched with great interest during the Ronald Reagan years about the Star Wars defense initiatives and proposals. Indeed. And missile shields. Yes. And that sort of thing. And I remember reading like Time magazine about a race in space, about wars taking place in space with high intensity lasers and that sort of thing. Is this a national security issue?
Well, apart from NASA, right, exploring space, indeed, the use of space for intelligence and security and defense is very important. That would be to our peril if we cut back there. But there are also land-based technologies that we have to develop in terms of data mining, data compression, new optical systems that can harvest the data from space for defense, intelligence, and security more effectively than we're doing today. So we have to invest in space, but also invest on new technologies on the ground to harvest that potential from what's up there.
Doctor, in our lifetimes, is it possible that we'll send a legion of people to the planet Pandora? Do you think we'll reach
Well, you know, we're talking
Pandora
about dreaming before. I don't know about Pandora, but, you know, in the United States, at some agencies like the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, we're talking about a space elevator. Now, it may sound like science fiction. You're going to have this cable in space out of nanotechnology, right? So, okay, so allow that to be fiction today, but tomorrow it may be fact, or along the way, we may make some fundamental new discoveries about the use of technology that we can harvest.
All right.
Down here on
Wonderful
Earth.
talking to you.